At what point do you expect to begin flights, and will you be doing unmanned test flights before there's a manned flight?
Of course, this is not really so much a technical question as a legal question. We already have done 9 unmanned test flights, and they have all been successful. So we could go directly to a manned test flight with a professional test pilot, and that would be the preferred way to go, would be a single pilot, professional test pilot, astronaut, and do a complete manned test flight. We would dock with our space station, and the test pilot would check out all the systems on the station spacecraft, and then would return to the Earth. And then we'd start flying crews of 3 people, ordinary commercial missions. And all 3 positions will be commercial positions.
How long would you want to have crews on board station before returning to Earth?
Based on the history of these station modules, we should be able to have life support and ECLIS, the environmental control system, to keep them on board for between 6 months and a year. Our missions will take 4 to 12 months because we're using low-powered ion engines and low-thrust trajectories. Our station is a very big spacecraft. It weighs between 25 and 29 metric tons when it has the capsule attached to it as a lifeboat. And we're moving this entire spacecraft through cislunar space to the moon. We're just using a continuous electric engine to do it.
How much time then would it take for the first cislunar injection instead of the days before?
Dr. Ed Balbruno at Princeton is currently under contract to us to do these trajectory analysis. We looked at one case where it would take approximately 120 days to go from low Earth orbit to the moon. We think we can do a lot better than this. We believe that by using what's called an exterior transfer, which has been used twice in the past for satellites going to the moon, that we can move this spacecraft to the moon in between 3 and 6 months. And then it would come back to the Earth rather rapidly because it uses a gravity assist by the moon to come home.
Has there been any sort of other investors that you've spoken to privately that want to contribute, or any people that you've talked to privately who want to be your first customers?
We have not sought investors, nor have we sought customers before today. This day, with our announcement here at the International Space Development Conference, was the first time we've made public what we're doing in enough detail that someone could become interested. Now, we have had private conversations with quite a few sovereign governments and individuals and corporations who are interested in what we're doing as technology and as a way of breaking into this new business. It's no accident that people like Paul Allen and the fellows from Google and Elon Musk and Sir Richard Branson, and I could keep going for a while, that these self-made billionaires are investing in trying to develop private space capability. There is a market for it. There is a future for this industry. We have the advantage of the very large investment that's been made in the European and Russian space programs that can be the technical heritage that we take into our entry into this field. To give you some idea, our first mission to the moon should cost roughly the amount of a communication satellite launched to geosynchronous orbit. And at the end of that mission, our spacecraft will still be in space and it will still have a useful life of 8 or 9 years. So we see this as an ordinary business proposition, that we're creating infrastructure that can be used by anybody, any national government, any person who wants to do a private expedition. We're in a business that has a historic heritage of private expeditions going across the oceans, going across the continents, and now we'll go to cislunar space into the moon and to Mars. How soon it'll happen, I can't tell you. We're technically ready to go. There's little doubt that within 24 to 30 months after we sign up our first flight crew, that we'll launch the station. And once we launch the station, launching the space capsule is at a very high level of technical readiness right now. I actually had one Russian engineer suggest that we'd not refurbish it and we just fly the one we have. He says it would work. We'd prefer to refurbish.
Well, what is the most important thing that people need to know right now about Excalibur Almaz?
Excalibur Almaz is a company that's dedicated to the proposition that it's possible to build infrastructure in space that can be used by many different companies. We're trying to provide a capability to take cargo and people anywhere in the Earth-Moon system. And it's available for charter. After a while, we may start running a bus line. But we have our 2 spacecraft that can go into space as deep spacecraft, and we have 4 spacecraft that can go from the surface of the Earth to low Earth orbit. They exist now. They have been proven through multiple flights. The stations flew 3 times. The spacecraft reentry vehicles flew 9 times. And I think it's just a matter of finding the customer and going.
Is there any other policies or laws that you need to get through before you can start getting customers and flights?
We work within a seamless web of policy and law at Excalibur Almaz. We have to comply with the rules and regulations of the Russian space program, of the European space program, and the American space program. We have to deal with the complex issues of transferring technology between Russia, America, and Europe, and having technical discussions on how to accomplish things that people's lives depend on. And so far, we have been able to get all the licenses we need. It's somewhat frustrating because normally you just sit down and talk with someone and you simply can't do that under the law. You have to get the correct licenses. But we've managed to deal with it. It's a cost of doing business.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think that it's quite likely that there will be many companies that are going into space to do many different things. And it's impossible for me to predict now what it is they're going to be doing or exactly when or what they'll need. But I know they're all going to need to eat, they're all going to need to breathe, they're all going to need to go to the bathroom, and they're all going to need some electricity and communications. And that's what our spacecraft will provide. We're not going to force people to live inside a space capsule. Our spacecraft's about as big as a 3-bedroom apartment. And I think that'll be a lot more comfortable than trying to live in a little capsule. So we'll see if there's a market for this thing we're bringing to it. You know, is there a market? That's the $64 question.